Hey Track Gang, what's going on in this week's episode of the Boeville in Newtown? Well, it's right over here. Stand by and we'll get into what's happening this week. Well, hello Track Gang and welcome to episode 4. Can't believe I'm up to episode 4 already. For 2024, it happens to be January the 27th of 2024, the day before the 200th STS show. Obviously, this will come out after that, so you'll have to go back and look at that. I'll try to remember to link it in here before the end of this, or when I go to upload it. Anyway, one thing real quick, I did notice that the light looks a lot better on this camera than it did without the ring light, which is the way I had used it a couple of years ago, and I wasn't happy with it. The only issue that I do have is that the audio is not very good. I'm not sure how I'm going to correct that. I've gone through the settings. I can't find anything on this camera that tells me how to adjust the level, so it is what it is. I'm going to have to, I think what I'm going to have to do is when I go into my editing software, I'm going to have to bring down the sound on the intro and outro to match the level of this. So that's not that big of a deal. I'll figure that out. But I've been working on a retaining wall. I haven't done much else with it because I ran into a slight problem, and that was, I kind of figured it was going to happen, but I was thinking that because of the fact that I'd cut into it, it wasn't going to be that big of a deal, and it ended up being a problem anyway. And that's the fact that it worked, which, like I was saying, I figured it might. It did. So I've had some weight on it to try and get it back into flatness. I'm going to probably put some bracing behind it as well to try and manipulate it back in place. Again, it's not a huge problem, so I haven't done the mortar lines on that yet. I'm hoping to get to those before the end of the video. But what I did want to show is what is behind me here, and I'm not going to stop the camera. I am just going to hopefully swing this thing down and show you all what I've been working on. I'm hoping I can get behind the camera without kicking it. There we go. Alright, so at least over on this side, I say this side because I'm about to show you what I did. As you can see, we've got some lighter gray on top of the background gray. This is that stonework that I was trying to mimic. It's not great, but it's a good start. I may end up doing some more to it. But I'm going to show you on this side how I did it, and you're also going to notice something else here too, and that is the fact that, hey, a lot of the snow is gone. Well, to be perfectly honest, it was 70 degrees yesterday, it was 50-some degrees today, and basically all the snow that we got this time last week is gone. So, at any rate, pardon my arm, I'm going to grab my gray paint, or my light gray paint. Now what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to dry brush this, so I'm dragging it down the face. And I didn't have, there we go. What I'm trying to mimic is obviously sunlight, which is not something that we have in our train rooms. Now granted, we normally have some sort of light, overhead lights or what have you. And I'm trying to, like I said, just go in one direction with this and just give it some definition. Make it look like it's not, you know, styrofoam and paper mache, which is what this is. This happens to be that area that I paper mached. So that's pretty much it. Now, not only did I paint that gray, but where the retaining wall and we kind of talked about this, and I'm stuck on the tether for the for my walk around throttle. Hopefully I can get there. We go. And it figures as soon as I start recording, the dogs decide to go nuts. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Now, obviously, over here, too much paint. The retaining wall is going to meet up with that rock work on this side. And I think I'm going to leave it like that. Alright, so, you know, like I said, you're trying to create the illusion that it's not what it is. And that's styrofoam and paper mache. You're trying to make it look like rock work or what have you, and creating that sunlight off of that, off the upper rocks. And what I was hoping I could do, and it didn't work out that well, was to actually come from underneath with the darker gray. And it kind of did work, but it didn't. So one of the other things that we're going to do over here, and if you notice, there is quite a bit of snow still here. I've got that brickwork that I picked up at the last train show, and I am going to be putting that here. So I'm going to have to cut this a little bit to get it to fit, so on and so forth. So that'll be one of the things that I'm going to be working on, as well as trying to get my retaining wall straight. So we're going to stop here for a bit. I'm going to go ahead and move some things around and get ready to do that. And speaking of a couple of things here real quick, actually I'm going to try to swing the camera back up on me here a minute. There we go. And get rid of the glasses, right, so that there's no glare. There you go, bud. One of the things that I do want to and I'll mention it again, I'm sure, before the end of this video, this weekend is the Great Scale Model Train Show. This is the February show, I guess what they call the winter show. There still is the spring show in April, and then there's the fall show in October. I'm planning on going because, well, I found out that one of my subscribers, Chattanooga Southern, shout out to you, my friend, Ian over there, is over in Delaware. And I just found his channel not that long ago, probably within the last couple of weeks. And then him and I started, well, I was interested because I saw that he had a video saying he couldn't make the fall show last year because he got sick. And I was like, well, shoot, if he was going to the Great Scale Model Train Show, more than likely he's probably an hour to an hour and a half of where it is. I know that Anthony from the Georgia Sunbelt comes a little bit further, but still. So him and I got to chatting over email, and I got a feeling that him and possibly Anthony from the Georgia Sunbelt might be stopping by here again. At least Anthony, this will be his third time, third or fourth. I've lost track. It doesn't matter. The door's open. But I also know that Chris is possibly the fellow from the Baltimore Streetcar Museum. He's an O-scale model railroader as well as doing the Streetcar Museum. So I obviously I made the offer to him as well to come on over. He actually works in the area and he lives fairly close by too. But at any rate, figured, you know, hey, if I'm going to meet up with a couple of folks at the train show, come on, stop on by, and you know, so I'm going to make a concerted effort over the next couple of days to get the railroad back in working order, so that way when people come over, I've got something to show. So that's what I got to work on. That's what we're going to be doing. So stand by and we'll be back later. Okay, folks. Well, I just came across some, well, not came across something, but I just tried something on this wall, and the effect is absolutely incredible, to be honest with you. I talked about the test that I did, and it was a small test, so I went in with a micro brush and literally laid the mortar lines in. Well, I came up with a better way. So I'm going to see if I can demonstrate this. Maybe. No, I can't even see, unfortunately, the way that this camera works. If I try to flip the viewfinder, it doesn't show. Oh, that's not good. Wait a minute. Let's move the light. There we go. Alright, so I did the first two on the dark gray, which lightened it up quite a bit, which is nice, because I was afraid, and I told John this last night on Sidetrack Sunday, that I thought the inner parts were a little too dark. And I did notice a mistake. There is a missing mortar cut in some of the blocks on that one. It's a little late to go back and screw with it now, so it is what it is. Now, what I'm going to try to do here, and hopefully without causing a whole lot of hate and discontentment here, I'm using this came in one of the brush things that I had. It's obviously as a rectangular sponge, and I was using just the edge and literally painting over all of the dark gray here. Going up, down, side to side, what have you, left to right, right to left, to try and get paint into all of the, obviously I'm trying to get paint in all the mortar crevices here that I cut into this foam core. That's the whole point of this, is we're trying to mimic the mortar lines. So I'm going to try and get a little bit more paint in here, because some of these are not taking the paint the way I'd like them to. Figures the first two, when I did this, it basically pretty much took it, and that was it. Alright, now, for the magic, as it were, I'll get a little solo cup of water off to the side. Now obviously, with this being foam core, you cannot make this too wet, because it's going to cause other issues, but we can make it at least wet enough, and we just scrub it across and up and down to take the gray off, or I'm sorry, the tan off of the gray. Before it gets too dry. And I just noticed that it looks like I missed some mortar lines on this one as well. But that's okay, it's not that big of a deal. So you see what I'm saying though, I mean this effect is something else. I mean this is really looking good. And I mean you can sit here and continue to rub on it and take more off if that's what you want to do. And to be honest, you don't have to, I'm not putting any pressure on this. I'm just literally driving this damp towel over top of the gray, and it looks like, really, in reality, what I did is I actually took more of the tan paint off of there than I did on the first couple. So it's not that's not a big deal. Those are the far end ones, you probably wouldn't even notice it. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next panel. And do the same thing. Just trying to get the, and you could probably do this with a brush. It just so happened that this was the first thing that I pulled out after I tried with a micro brush and realized that, well, two problems. That was going to be a complete pain in the rear end to have to go through and paint all the mortar lines with a micro brush. That was the first problem. The second problem is it kind of came out a little on the thick side the first time. So I'm just trying, like I said, I'm just trying to get paint into all of the cut lines. be good. Let's see what happens if we go take this off. I may have to get another towel. I think this one here is pretty much dried up on me. Yeah. All right, another towel. Although I could probably just go ahead and re-wet that and get it to work, but we'll just try anew because that was kind of full of paint. And if anybody's been watching the channel for a while, you know that the other year when we did the Build Crew 2.0, which reminds me, yeah, me, Rick, and JD have got to get back together again and talk about the second building. We have not been able to do that recently. We've been all of us have been a little bit busy. In talking to Mr. Bailey last night, he's got a few things that he's trying to tidy up on his, and then we should be good to go. I just realized I spilled some water over there. That's not good when you're messing with this. So, yeah, I think that's going to work. I think that's going to work quite well, to be perfectly honest. So I'm going to continue on, and we'll see what it looks like when I get the two pieces together. Well, I'm hoping the last part of this actually recorded. If not, well, I went through and did everything here. As you can see, the technique, I think, just worked out really well. Some of this is a little light, but that's okay, because it's not supposed to be uniform anyway. So, yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. That turned out really, really well. And, of course, you're looking at it that way, but I can stand it up. And, yeah, that'll work. That'll function. Well, folks, this is another one of those cases where best laid plans go slightly astray. I will say this, the sandy pale worked out really well on that darker gray, not so much on the lighter gray. You can barely see it. So now I'm at an impasse because I don't know if I should go back and paint the archways the dark gray and then go back and try this again, or if I should just leave all enough alone. And I'm going to try to see if I can swing the camera here so you can see what it is that I'm talking about. Now, for the moment, the light gray is just laid on top of the dark gray stone, but you can see, I don't know if it's really showing up really all that well, but you can tell that it just didn't work out, at least the way I thought it should. Maybe once it dries, maybe it'll look a little different, but the effect on the gray stone is absolutely outstanding. There's no question about that. So I'm going to let it dry overnight and see what it looks like. Actually, it's going to dry for 2 nights because tomorrow night's bowling, so we'll see. Well, there it is in place. Now, if you notice, I've got a paper clip or a binder clip actually holding this thing together because I haven't glued it yet. And there it is on the other side. So it looks okay in person. And like I said, for whatever reason, the light gray, when I went and did the mortar lines, just didn't show up as nicely as they did on the dark, which is understandable. It's 2 different color paint. The other thing I just noticed too is the fact that I can still see the parting line, or the parting lines on both pieces of this. So I'm debating whether I'm going to go back and redo this, at least the outer part. That's the reason why I haven't glued anything yet. Or if I should just leave it alone and just roll with it. because even when I was talking to John number 2 before Sidetrack Sunday, I told him, I said, yeah, I said the inner is that armory gray, and then the outside is the, I forgot what the actual name of the gray is off the top of my head. Yeah. The outer is gray stone and the inner is armory. So, and in reality, since it is supposed to look like it's an archway, theoretically the inside is going to be darker than the outside anyway. But, like I said, the effect is kind of cool. Like I said, I'm just not 100% sold on this thing being that light on the outside and that dark on the inside. I'm thinking maybe it should have been all or closer to one color. But regardless, right now it is what it is. I do think if I decide that I'm going to redo this, I'm probably going to redo it with the thicker foam core. I think I've got room. Instead of using the 1/8 inch on the outside, I'd go with the 3/16 just like the back is. And try and find some way of better hiding that parting line between the splices. Now, the nice thing is that this is a 4-foot section, and the boards that I got from Rachel are 3 foot. So I'd only have a foot that I'd have to deal with that would have to be some sort of an overlap or something of that nature. And like I said, considering the fact that this isn't the backboard, that it's the foreground board, I may end up redoing it. I may end up just doing it in the dark gray and using the sandy pale as the mortar one more time. I don't know. Like I said, I've been thinking about it. I've been battling with myself on this one, so we'll see what happens. But I'm going to go ahead and bring the camera up and swing, which is something I know you're not supposed to do or shouldn't do, but that's okay. So we're going to. I just don't feel like messing with stopping this crazy thing at this point. Yeah, I'm still using the Besteker instead of the Handycam. Like I said, I did notice that the sound's a little soft, but it is what it is. Just a reminder that this weekend, number 1, Sidetrack Sunday, number 1 for the month of February, which will be the 4th of February, is on John number 2 over at the Schuylkill River Valley's channel. That's number 1. Number 2 is that this weekend is also show number 1 of the Great Scale Model Train Show at Timonium for 2024. They do 3 shows a year. They do February, April, and then October. And we all know about the October show. That's the show that I open the house and have folks over and everything else. Not saying that that's not going to happen this weekend, but that October show is the big show. I think last October, I'm trying to think how many folks we had here. To be honest, I don't remember off the top of my head. I know there was quite a few people that either came in and left or came in and stayed, and I was happy to have everybody, and I'm looking forward to doing that again. But it is what it is. I'm going to stop this here. You all know the deal. Wait for the highball. Green tracks ahead. We'll catch you all next time. Be safe. God bless. We will see you.